Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival.
There is the End Machine. That is called Crack the Sky from their latest release called Phase 2. And with us today is lead vocalist of the End Machine, Robert Mason. Welcome back to the Revival, Robert.
Nice to be here. How are you gentlemen today?
Good. It's always good to have you. Before we get going on the interview, I wanted to say, I think the last time Jerry and I actually had the chance to sit and talk to you was at a show in Waukesha called Rockeshaw you guys never went on.
But you
did. The gig that didn't happen, was that the one?
That's the one you sang
with
To
Eric?
Be With You. Yeah, with Eric Martin. That was cool.
With Eric Martin. Yes. That would have been sometime in 2014 or 15, right?
Yeah.
14?
Yeah. Been a while.
So, I think we have video of that when you sang with Eric that day.
So. It sounded good.
Well, it's funny because he and I are old friends, and he was going to do his acoustic thing. We were waiting in this weird limbo. I mean, no blame, no blood, no foul, but you know how some of those shows go. Sometimes it's weather, sometimes it's a promoter thing. It could be any combination of things. And I remember going to what didn't become sound check because I just wanted to go see the grounds, and then saw Eric, and he's like, "Hey man, do you know this part of this song?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, come up and do it with me." I'm like, "Okay, cool." In the afternoon, without warming up. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's so great to hear another album from the End Machine. I was so hoping after the first one we get a second release, and personally, I think you guys took this to another level with this release. Did you guys have more time to focus on this release with the shutdown that went on last year, since you guys, all your regular projects were pretty much off the road?
Well, touring cut down, obviously, so, cut off at the knees, so you're sitting there at home. Yes and no. We took a bunch of time and didn't make a record. I'm not quite sure whether it was Frontiers or us, but we took a little bit extra time. Usually everybody's very busy, and the first few months of everybody being locked down last year was just weird. And I remember Jeff coming to me saying, "Hey man, Frontiers wants us to do this record. Can we start throwing ideas at you?" Because the way the End Machine has worked in the past is Jeff and George get a bunch of instrumental stuff, and then like for the first record, sent them off to me, and then I would go through reams of lyrics that I have and stuff in my phone and elsewhere, and or let the song guide me where I want to go with a melody and lyrics, and then write from there.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this time we, in lieu of doing that, we got on Zoom meetings and sat around and stared at each other a lot. So, and George and Jeff wanted, I think, to be involved because, I mean, the lyric thing was my thing. And so Jeff and I would hammer out the finer points of it, and he would make a suggestion or two in the studio, but I would be pretty damn ready and just roll straight in. We'd run a scratch track, then we'd hammer out any harmonies we were going to do, and I would just record and, start with an instrumental and finish with a finished song like that day. And that's how we did it last time. I did that 11 times and we finished the record, So this time we were all in that mindset to stay in our homes and get on video chats in our respective studios and hammer out stuff that way, which I was cool with. It was a different approach, but it was what we wanted to do. And Jeff Pilson's just musical as all get out. So he actually came up with a couple of choruses that, while we were all sitting at home, he's like, "Well, I got these couple of words in this melody, and I want to put them down." I'm like, "Well, put them down." So he would send me him singing. I think Devil's Playground came out that way because he just loved those two words together. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I said, "Okay, cool. What else do you have?" He's like, "Well, I don't have anything else." He's like, "Well, okay, well then what am I going to write it about? Or should I just make something up? You gotta, a couple of words is cool and the melody's fun, but So then, so that chorus came to me from Jeff. George would kind of send text messages, or when we're sitting in those rooms doing doing the, like brainstorming Zoom meetings, and they probably realize this. Sometimes I would just mute them out and go and write a bunch of lyrics and text message it to both of them, and then unmute my Mac and say, "Hey guys, check your phones." And they're like, "Why?" It's just because I just sent you 2 verses and a chorus. I just wrote the lyrics. There you go. And they would go, oh, that's cool. Okay, well, where do we go from here? So it was kind of like the three of us just, this is a all for one for all kind of situation between us. So it's really the best idea wins,
Okay.
And I mean, yes, they do. It's not like I sat around suggesting things for George to play on guitar, but I've done that in the past. Like, hey, dude, what about this melody? And he would do the same for me. I would get, once again, a random text message from George Lynch where he's like, "Hey, Robert, like an audio message, here's this melody I'm thinking of." And he would, like, sing, like, half sing, half whisper this melody in his head. "I can't get this out of my head. Can you use this for this song?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right. I'll do my damnedest to,
Make it work.
Nice.
Make that work." And that's kind of how we did this one.
Huh. Cool. Now, I watched your 3 videos for this album so far, and I really like the idea you did with the 3rd video of using outtakes from the first 2 videos for the Dark Divide video. I thought that was really cool to see.
That was kind of the director and the Frontiers guys. They're like, "Hey, we have a whole bunch of B-roll that was shot during that day when you did the other 2, those other locations." Long day, by the way. Very long day. And we just want to cut together that and use it for Dark Divide. I'm like, okay. Once again, I think it's fun to watch us goof around and mess up and like little behind the scenes kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Hey, Robert, when you ever get George Lynch and Jeff Pilson together, you're always going to get the comparisons with the classic Dokken sound. And I hear that at times, but that's rumor has it that they did a couple dates. I hear it at times, but I also hear a band that has its own sound. Does that comparison bother you at all? I mean, when everybody, it sounds like Dokken.
You have to consider the source, because anybody that, honestly, I was taught pretty early on, and I grew up believing that no one can insult you without your permission. So if it comes from a place of negativity to want to compare, whatever. Cool. I'm glad you. Yeah, they were in Dokken. I was in Lynch Mob. Wow, there's a lot of incestuous behavior going on there. Okay, and. So So you're saying we don't sound like Rush? Of course. So
nice.
But honestly, that's an undeniable chemistry and songwriting vibe that we wanted to tap into because it's there. It's ours. Like collectively, I mean, I can call it ours, I guess. But it's all part of that. You're a product of your past and your influences, and all you can do is move forward and see what happens. It's not like we wanted to really rehash, but there's a cool chemistry there that's undeniable. And I think on the first record, to your credit, you recognized that was what we wanted to do on the first record, is really, first and foremost, establish our own baby, first, like make it an entity that stood on its own legs, or 4 feet or whatever
exactly
kind of you choose. But that'd be funny if I'd have said stood on its own 3 legs. That would have been great. Because everybody knows a triangle is the most stable. So there you go. Tripod. So I think what we did on the first record went a little experimental in ways and tapped into our older influences and really tried to, we almost tried too hard. Maybe that's arbitrary, and subjective. To not make it sound like a Lynch Mob record, not make it sound like a Dokken record, but you can't help it. And I think we went a little outside. Now we can reel it in and show those influences that are closer at hand. And I kind of think we made a tighter record, a collective of songs that have a better common thread, let's say.
Okay.
That's an acceptable way of saying it.
Nice, I agree
Than
with
the
that.
first one. I think it was important to make that first record, and I'm crazy proud, honestly, of everybody's performances on that first record. I really am. But this was a time I don't want to make the same record every time. That's not who I am. So
Exactly.
why should that be who we are?
Really. Now, Mick Brown was your drummer on the first album, and now you got his younger brother on this album. So is Mick kind of jealous that you passed him over to get a younger one, like like you do with the girls, like the chicks, you pass
Honestly,
over?
Quite the opposite. It was funny. He called me afterward. I'll go chronologically. So Mick, as everyone in the know sort of realizes, Mick did a hard retirement, cold turkey retirement. Not play, no play, no more, done. And that I sensed that coming when we did our first record, and then afterwards he's like, man, I don't know if I want to go out and play these songs. It's a couple songs I have competing dates with, because he was still playing at Dokken at the time. And I mean, Mick has had a great run, and he's an older gentleman than I am, and I totally understand if he's for all of his collective reasons. I'm not going to speak for him by any means, but I love the guy. We're still neighbors. He's here in Cave Creek, so I hear from him. I see him when we realized Mick was not going to record this record. We had our thoughts of going with this guy or that guy, who are all overqualified, and to be in our band. And then I think Jeff called me and said, "What about Steve?" And I'm like, "Steve?" He just said Steve. It was funny. I'm like, "What do you mean Steve?" It's like, "Well, Steve Brown, Mick Brown's brother." It's like, "Well, I met Steve once or twice in my life. Once at a very early Lynch Mob show in '91 when I was brand new in the band, and then once on the Warrant tour somewhere." Or he claims we didn't meet, but he was in the front row yelling my name. That's what Steve will tell you. And that's the truth. First off, he's as funny as Mick Brown, which is great.
Nice.
And he plays great. The lineage is there. We thought it was just a great fit. And he sings. The guy can sing background vocals. He's like he's the whole kit in a drummer, for what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a natural thing. Now, Mick did call me and say he was very proud, and that he's like, I think I missed his call, and I got that answering message where, "Hey, it's Mick," like that. He's halfway between. There's always a touch of Rodney Dangerfield when I do a Mick Brown impersonation.
No
I'm
respect.
like, "Hey, it's Mick. I just want to tell you, it's like, Steve sounded great on the record. I'm super stoked that he's on it." And this is him on my answering machine. I wish I'd kept it. I'm super stoked how awesome it sounds. I can't wait to go see you guys. Oh, okay, bye. And then it's just click.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It's like having Mick Brown on if he leaves a message on your answer machine, it's kind of having like him sprint towards you, like full steam ahead, and then all of a sudden get right up in your face and say a bunch of stuff, and then okay, bye, and then click, like before you know it.
Nice.
That's great.
So
Robert,
we call Steve Mild Steve Brown.
Mild
Steve
instead
Brown.
of wild.
Okay, that's awesome. From listening to this album, it sounds like the band has great chemistry. Are there thoughts of you guys touring at all? I know you're busy with Warrant, and George has got 15 bands going, and Jeff's got that band called Foreigner. Is there any thought of getting out on their own?
There are thoughts of it, yes. There's the eternal hope that the stars will align and we'll all have the free time. I'm not going to say no, but I can't at this point say yes just because we don't have anything definite, and I'm not that kind of person. So
Nice. All right.
I hate to be ambiguous like that, but it's really just we are a slave to our collective schedules, and that's just the way it goes. It's tough to take a band where everybody goes with the End Machine, and then if you're a fan, you get it. If you own the record, you get it. But if not, it's not one of those universal names you have to say more than the name. Well, it's George Lynch. Oh, and that's this guy from, it's this guy saying